Good evening. And I don't say that just to fill the air. I say it because there is a way of saying good evening, and nothing has happened within. And there is a way of saying good evening, and, for some of us, a little warmth moves, a softening, almost as if the room itself breathes and you feel, yes, we are here. You know the difference. You've been in rooms where words go back and forth like marbles on a floor. Click, click. And then you've been in rooms where a word lingers, swells, and becomes more than its syllables. You see? A word can be sound, or a word can be presence. Now, I bring that up at the outset for a reason. Abide in me, and I in you. Most of us can say it. We've said it in church, in study, maybe in the car going to work. But few ever discover what it means because most settle for repeating it and never receive it. We let the words pass our lips and we assume the thing itself has occurred. It hasn't. Sound is not union. Repetition is not realization. And so we go on reciting and wondering why the yoke still chafes, why the burden remains on our shoulder, why nothing has shifted in the core of our being. So here is the simple, testable criterion. And I tell you this at the beginning so that you may know tonight whether you are dealing with words or with the word become presence. When the phrase is truly received, an inner release comes. There is a dropping of strain. There is a quiet inward, ah. And you find, not by argument but by the gentle fact of it, that the government is not on your shoulder. You are no longer propping up your world with mental braces. If the release has not come, do not condemn yourselves. No. But be honest. You have been talking about abiding while still carrying the load yourself. You see it. Now, our purpose together is not to gather a new idea, not to collect one more bright phrase. Our purpose is to recognize the precise internal shift where abiding begins and effort ends. That is the only profit. That inner event must take place in you, or else we are only in the room exchanging sentences. And so I ask you to listen tonight, not for cleverness, but for that quiet easing that tells you something greater than your personal will has moved into place. The Father. The Father. The Father. Until that gentle transfer occurs, you are practicing at the edges. So let us agree. We are not here to make ourselves better talkers of truth. We are here to be still enough that truth, received, makes itself our life. If a sentence remains a sentence, leave it. But if a sentence becomes presence, rest there. That is your sign. From that point on, you will not be lifting your world. Life will be lifting you. And that, my friends, is the evening becoming good. Now, let us be very plain about why this is rare. Not because God is partial, not because grace is stingy, but because we have trained ourselves to mistake noise for knowing. We have learned to take statements of truth, beautiful, accurate statements, and grind them into the brain until the poor brain is sore, and then we say, I have practiced. You have practiced making grooves in the mind. You have not yet practiced abiding. You see? Abiding is not positive statements hammered in by will. Abiding is not an emotional pep talk I give myself in the mirror, fixing my face into courage and calling it faith. Abiding is not a religious mood, not a Sunday feeling with soft organ tones and a sigh. It is not performance. Oh, how we love performance. The earnest face, the fervent voice, the spiritual vocabulary that convinces the room while leaving the heart untouched. Here's the counterfeit that most of us have tried. We take the scripture on our tongue, abide in me and I in you. And while we are saying it, We are arranging, calculating, fearing, managing. Inside, a small, tight voice whispers, I must make this work. I must make this happen. If I do not, it will all collapse. And so, side by side with our holy words, the old operator sits at the levers, sweating. Do you recognize it? The mouth says union. The mind maintains separation. The phrase is spoken. The strain remains. That is not abiding. That is self-hypnosis dressed in church clothes. Now hear this warning, and I give it in love, but I give it straight. Reliance on metaphysical truths as formulas can be, for the spiritual life, fatal. Fatal because it deceives us so gently. It keeps us on the mental plane while congratulating us for being spiritual. We become experts at arranging words, but the inner government has not changed hands. We are still the doers, the deciders, the saviors of our little kingdoms. And we wonder why there is no rest. The scripture promises union. Abide in me, and I in you. The testimony is bold. The experience, for many, remains shy, distant. So we must ask, what is missing? Not the statement, not the theology. The missing element is realization. Truth become living awareness, the Word made flesh in your own quiet center. Until that happens, the practice is rehearsal, 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 with no opening night. So let us create a wholesome tension inside ourselves, the kind that refuses to be satisfied with echoes. If there is no release, we have not yet touched it. If, after our finest affirmations, we still feel ourselves carrying tomorrow on our shoulders, we have not yet touched it. And this is good news, because it turns us from performance to presence, from mental repetition to contemplative discovery, from I must make this work to Father, thou doest the works. The rarity ends wherever the pretending ends, and where the inner event, the easing, the yielding, begins. Then, and only then, does the sentence stop being ours and become his. Now we have to slow the sentence down until it begins to open. Abide in me, and I in you. Not fast, not as a banner, just quietly, with attention. Abide in me. Who is this me? Who is speaking? Where is this I located that invites you to dwell? If you say, why, it is Jesus, I must ask, which Jesus? The man walking Galilee, a personality in history? Or that which spoke through the man and declared, before Abraham was, I am? You see, this is not a trivial point. If the me is a person over there, then abiding becomes clinging to a memory, or adoration of a figure, or concentration upon a concept. That will leave you outside, talking to an image. So we ask again, as we always must with these pronouns, who is this I? What is this I? And at once we are brought to the simple, shattering admissions that the Master himself gave us to correct our gaze. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me, he doeth the works. Now who is he? And where is he? Not somewhere in the blue beyond, not in a shrine built by hands, but within the very awareness that is hearing these words, the indwelling presence, the Father, the Christ. The Spirit that constituted the life of the man Jesus and constitutes your life and mine. The same yesterday, today, and forever, because it is not born and does not die. This me is not a human me. It is the eternal I that spoke as, I am the vine, ye are the branches. Now feel what happens to the instruction when the pronoun is clarified. Abide in me. Abide in the indwelling presence. Yield into the life that is already the root and sap of your being. That is not concentration on an idea. That is not mental tightness. That is consent. That is inner letting. That is the quiet recognition that here where I seem to be, an I am is, and that I am is God. Do you see the hinge? If the me is a person, then you will strain to hold to a person, to remember, to affirm, to hold an image. If the me is the Father within, then abiding is the simple turning within and resting where the work is already being done before you thought to pray. And I in you. The sentence answers its own question. The I that invites your abiding is the very I that abides in you. Not two, one. And so the Master could say other words we must hear as interior speech. I live, yet not I. Christ liveth in me. There again the pronoun turns the light. I, the personal sense, steps back. Christ, the indwelling I, steps forth and does the living. The Father, the Father, the Father. When that is realized, the burden shifts without argument. The government is on His shoulder. Action no longer begins in your anxious forehead. It begins where life forever begins, within, as presence. So let us take the phrase not as a motto to carry about, but as a doorway to enter. Sit with it. Question it. Listen until the me reveals as the presence at your own center. Then you will find that abiding is no longer an instruction you obey. It is a union you recognize, and in that recognition, you rest. Now, how shall you know that this turning from a person to the presence has actually happened, and is not just another clever thought about God? There is a sign, not a theory, a sign. I call it release. It is a felt letting go, a quieting down of that inward grip that has been holding the world together. It is as if the inner hands unclench. The breath that did not know it was tight finds itself softening, and without any argument a sense comes, almost shyly at first, that the government is not on my shoulder. You know it because the sentence, I can of my own self do nothing, the Father within me doeth the works, stops being a quotation and becomes a condition. The Father, the Father, the Father. Before anything appears outwardly, this is the first fruit. Now, let us be careful, because excitement masquerades as spirit for many. Release is not excitement. It is not a thrill running up the spine, not goose flesh on the arm, not the trance of self-hypnosis. You can induce those by suggestion, by music, by breath tricks. They are not wrong, but they are not it. Release is quieter than that. It is the easing of personal responsibility and the dawning of inner assurance. No symbols, no fireworks. Just the felt fact that I do not have to uphold the universe for the next 10 minutes. A hush comes, and in that hush you can say nothing and feel no lack. You are not ginning up faith. Faith is already there as presence. What are the markers? Your breath changes. It goes out farther than it has in days, and it comes back of itself. The forehead that has been knitted unknits without your command. The jaw loosens. The shoulders drop from their military post and remember they are human. The urgency dissolves. The mind stops arguing its case like an attorney afraid to lose. and with it, the appetite to rehearse answers, to fix people, to win. Time, which was a tyrant 5 minutes ago, steps back, as if embarrassed for having shouted. There is space inside, and in that space you can rest. Not make yourself rest, not pose as peaceful, but rest that is happening in you without your engineering. You are being rested. When that occurs, even for a moment, you have crossed the line from thinking about abiding to abiding. This is how you know. Not because the words sounded holy, not because anyone approved, but because agency shifted. You find that action, if called for, will arise from this stillness without your pushing. Words, if needed, will be given, and you will hear them as you speak them. And if nothing at all is needed, there is no itch to create something to prove you are spiritual. Presence has taken over the case. So it is. If, after your finest meditations, the strain remains, the inward operator still at his levers, then you are still on the bank thinking about the river. Do not be discouraged. Just be honest. Either the release has come or it has not. You see? Make this your simple criterion from this night on. Locate, even now as we are together in this room, whether there is that inward "ah" that says, without words, "The Father liveth. I live by him." If you can find even a thimbleful of that easing, treasure it. It is the seed. If you cannot, do not pretend. Stay with the contemplation until the me reveals and the grip lets go. And when it lets go, even a little, stop working. Rest. Let the river carry the branch. That, and nothing less, is the proof. Now that we have the sign, we must have a way, simple, clean, repeatable, to come to it. I call it contemplative meditation. Not grinding, not forcing, not shouting at heaven. Contemplation. Here is how. Take one phrase, not a bouquet of verses, one stem. Abide in me. Or, I live, yet not I. Or, the Father within me, he doeth the works. Take it like a seed placed in the soil of your quiet. Sit down, or if you cannot sit, stand still inside yourself. Repeat the phrase once, perhaps twice, very slowly, not to persuade God, not to impress yourself, but to bring your attention to the point. Then stop repeating. Now begin to listen. Listening does not mean a blank mind. It means a turned mind, turned toward the I of the phrase. Ask softly within, who is this I? Where is this me? What is this Father that doeth the works? Not as an exam, not as logic, but as opening. Let the words roll over once more if they draw you. Then again, rest. Ponder, but do not pester. Attend, but do not attack. Wait without fidgeting for the first hint of that inward easing. If thought wanders, gently bring it back to the pronoun, He, Father, Christ, until something within says, yes, and the shoulders remember to drop. You see how gentle this is. You do not set a kitchen timer on God. There is no virtue in 60 minutes of furrowed brow. If the release comes in 90 seconds, you are finished. If it comes in 5 minutes, you are finished. If, after some minutes, do not measure them, you will know. There is no movement. Simply close the book of your attention and go about your day. Do not push through. The moment you begin pushing, the personal operator has returned to the levers, and you are back on the mental plane manufacturing effects. That is when fatigue comes, dryness, and the old fear that you must make something happen. No, we are not manufacturers of spirit. We are witnesses to it. Why do we stop the instant the release comes? Because beyond that point, repetition becomes noise. The word has already become presence. To continue is to overlay it with your voice, to drown it under your good intentions. The Father, the Father, the Father. When He within has come to the forefront, retire. Sit with the hush for a moment, not to hold it, holding is grasping, but to consent. Then get up. Go wash the dishes, answer the letter, make the call. Live from that shift. Action will be given out of it, or silence will be given. Both are obedience. And if, 2 hours later, or 3, or 4, or 5, the mind is noisy again, do not scold it. Return. Perhaps the same phrase, perhaps another that presents itself. Again, only until the inner yes appears. Then stop. Each sitting is for realization, not for mileage. We are not accumulating credits, we are consenting to presence. Day by day, many times a day if needed, this is our way. Take the phrase, turn within, listen, wait until release, stop, and live. That is the practice. That is abiding becoming experience. And all the while, remember, you are not getting God to come. You are letting the indwelling I be what it already is. When the government shifts off your shoulder onto His, the prayer is complete. So it is. Now we need a clear, even sharp boundary, because many of you are skillful on the mental plane and, without malice, try to smuggle that skill into spiritual work. Affirmations. I am strong, I am safe. Autosuggestion. The soft lullaby you sing to the nerves. Hypnotic soothing. Self-induced rest by tone and breath. Willpower control. Jaw set, spine stiff. These are all arts that have their place. And then there is the most subtle of all, spiritualized self-management, where the vocabulary is holy, but the operator is the same old me at the levers. You can dress the foreman in white robes. He is still shouting orders at the factory. I do not deny the phenomena. Mental means can do things. You can slow your pulse. You can numb a pain. You can create a courageous mood before the meeting. You can even, by fixed attention, impose quiet on a storming thought. That is real as far as it goes. But mark this and remember it. None of that reveals the Christ. None of that establishes union. It does not disclose who lives your life. It does not say, I live, yet not I. Christ liveth in me. It says, I, by improved techniques, am running a tighter ship. And that is why the relief is fragile. When the suggestion wears off, the operator must start again. The yoke still chafes. The government is still on your shoulder. Here is the line. Anything that keeps me as the doer is not abiding, even if it sparkles for an hour. Abiding begins the instant the inner pronoun changes. I can of mine own self do nothing is no longer a humbling motto. It is a fact discovered in the hush. The Father within me, He doeth the works, is not your best thought. It is the presence taking the case. The sign, as we have said, is release. If your method requires more effort tomorrow than today, it is mental. If, in the midst of the same outer scene, there is less strain because an interior activity has presented itself, you have crossed. The Father, the Father, the Father. Take a practical instance. God is my supply. On the mental plane, that becomes a lever you pull to get a sale, to bend persons and conditions into your picture. You repeat it 50 times, and when the phone rings, you pounce, because the me is hunting its prey. Or, I am calm, and you paste calmness over a volcano. It may hold for the afternoon, but let one contrary gust blow, and the old heat breaks through. Now, in contemplation, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, is not a spell you cast on the market. You sit with it until it becomes presence. When the release comes, you stop. You have not managed a result. You have yielded to reality. Out of that, action, if any, will be given without hunt, without haste, without that old bargaining tone in the voice. This also means we do not aim truth at people like arrows. We are not sending thoughts to fix them, not manipulating atmospheres, not improving appearances by projection. That is mental control. It may produce a show, it will not produce peace. Our way is inner retirement and consent, until that familiar shift announces, He perfecteth that which concerneth me. Who is this He? We have asked it before, and we must again, until the answer is alive. The He is the indwelling I, Father, Christ, Presence, operating as your very life. So it is that the most efficient doing emerges as effortless rightness. The word that needs speaking arrives on your tongue. The silence that heals holds your tongue. The step appears under your foot as you take it. Make this your sure test from now on. If after practicing you feel more responsible, more tense, more tasked, you have been working the levers of mind. If after turning within, even with nothing changed without, there is an easing, a simple confidence that does not lean on outcome. Abide there. Do not use truth to manipulate outcomes. Contemplate truth until it unveils the presence that is the outcome. Then rest and let Him do the works. Now we come to the second clause, and it turns the whole picture inside out. And I in you. Not only do you rest in the presence rests in you. Not merely you consenting to God, but God consenting to be the life of you. Hear the logic that Scripture keeps giving until we cannot miss it. I live, yet not I. Christ liveth in me. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me, He doeth the works. The me you entered in contemplation is the I that now steps forth as actor, as light, as intelligence, the doer. This is the reversal that proves union. You are no longer summoning God to surround an anxious me. Rather, the I that is God comes forward and uses your faculties, mind, voice, hands, as its instruments. How do you know this is happening and not imagined? Your life begins to feel authored from within. Decision simplifies. Not because you have fewer options, but because there appears an inner yes and an inner no that need no debate. The compulsion to outline, to blueprint tomorrow, to manage outcomes with biting teeth, recedes. Fear may whisper, but it loses its credentials. It is no longer an authority in the room. Action becomes gentle and exact. You find yourself pausing before you answer, and in that pause, the answer arrives, clean. You start, and the step fits the foot. You stop, and the silence is eloquent. The Father, the Father, the Father. There is a rightness that does not strain. Now notice the practical miracle. Outwardly, nothing has absolved you of responsible living. You still sign the contract if it is yours to sign. You still wash the baby and pay the bill and show up Monday morning. You are present, sober, attentive. But inwardly, the terrible fiction has ended, that you must create and sustain the universe by personal power. The government is no longer on your shoulder. You are not propping up your world with metaphysical sticks. The vine life is carrying the branch life, and the fruit appears because sap flows, not because the branch grimaces. This is not laziness. It is right agency. It is the presence being the presence of your day. Take a moment from real life. Before, in a conflict, you marshaled arguments, rehearsed answers, braced for impact. Now, in the very same circumstances, the indwelling hush rises first, and with it, a tenderness you did not invent. Perhaps a single sentence is given, and it lands where 20 would have scattered. Perhaps no sentence is given, and your quiet removes the oxygen from the fire. You did not manage that. You did not choose to be clever or noble. You consented, and the presence functioned. Or you sit with a ledger, and formerly you schemed, wheedled, wrestled. Now the figures line themselves like children willing to be counted, and the one call to make is evident, unforced, without that bargaining tone. So it is. This, then, is our seal. Action no longer originates in personal strain. It springs from an activity that is already alive within, forever competent, forever sufficient. You in me, I in you, one life, one motion. When this is even slightly realized, you feel the lightness. You are still in your place, but the workman is at his tools, and you are the ready hands. Keep to that inner release as your witness. Let the me that is within be the I that does. And in the very doing, you will find yourself carried. Now we come to that little edge where most of us have stood and rocked for years. The moment of crossing. It looks like this, and you will recognize it. First, there is effort. You take the phrase, you sit, you try to abide. You tighten just a hair behind the eyes, and you keep trying. Then discouragement nods its head at you. It isn't working. I must be doing it wrong. And that honest disappointment, if you let it, can become doorway rather than cul-de-sac. For right there, a deeper listening begins. You stop forcing the river. You ask quietly, who is trying? Who is straining? Where is the me of this sentence? And as you ask, something inside exhales, without order, without display. A small release, not a show. The load you didn't know you were carrying slips half an inch from the shoulders. Not a trumpet, a change of weight. And with that, a quiet confidence arrives that is not bravado and not denial. It is the hush that says, I live, yet not I. The Father. The Father. The Father. This is the vine life becoming your base. The branch does not grit its teeth to bear fruit. It stays in the vine, and fruit appears because sap flows. The branch is not lazy. The branch is honest about agency. In the moment of crossing, you stop manufacturing life by personal heat, and you consent to live from life already within. You do not abandon wise action. You abandon the pretense that action begins with you. And the instant that consent is real, even a little, you feel it, not as excitement, but as restfulness with power in it. Let us do a check together, here in the room, right now. Where are you still pushing? Scan gently. Is the jaw set? Is the breath shallow? Is there a conversation you are rehearsing? a bill you are gripping by its throat, a body you are trying to manage with worry. Where are you still afraid? Name it softly. The child, the job, the diagnosis, the unknown phone call. Now ask the third question. Where can I yield? Not to fate, not to chance, but to the Father within who doeth the works. Whisper it if it helps. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me. Let the shoulders drop of themselves. Do not drop them. Wait 3 breaths. If a release comes, even like the loosening of a knot you can hardly see, stop. You have crossed. Rise and move in that new government. If it does not yet come, be kind. Return to listening rather than labor. Do not look for fireworks. The crossing is usually like stepping out from under a pack you forgot you were wearing. The room is the same. The walker is lighter. Test it this way. If you must keep holding the phrase to feel safe, you are still pushing. If the phrase seems to be holding you, you have crossed. The government is no longer on your shoulder. The vine is doing what vines do. The branch is truthful enough to receive. And you will notice the unforced rightness that follows. 1 call, not 5. 1 sentence, not 20. 1 silence that saves a day of repair. So it is. Make a habit, then, of finding this edge and consenting. Each time tension returns, do not condemn it. Use it as the bell that calls you within. You do not cross by trying harder. You cross by ceasing to be the operator. Father, thou doest the works. The Father. The Father. The Father. Abide is a simple word. Stay where the sap flows. Right now, if you will, step that ½ inch, out from under the load, into the inner life, and let it live you. It will carry you. Now, when that release becomes your little homeland, even for a few breaths a day, something begins that you cannot manufacture and you need not advertise. Perception refines. Consciousness lifts, and as it lifts, it sees on its own level. This is not your decision to become mystical. This is the natural vision of a mind no longer pressed flat to the surfaces of things. First, it is subtle. So subtle you may miss it unless you are honest. And then, at times, it is unmistakable. The first change is homely and dear. You do not quickly note bodies. Clothing ceases to be a report. The parade of forms, age, shape, race, decoration, loses its authority. You know the suit is there, the hair is there, the limp is there, but they are no longer your first knowledge of a person. You walk into a room, and where once the senses catalogued and judged, there is a small pause, a gentling. You are meeting life, not garments. The animal impulse to size and sort grows embarrassed and steps to the side. This is grace already at work. Then the eyes come forward. You note the eyes. You cannot help it, they announce themselves. Not the color, blue, brown, but the light in them, the transparency or the fog. And even here you do not analyze. You simply witness. Often you will find yourself held, for a breath, by a childlike innocence shining out of the most weathered face, and you know, in a way you cannot argue, that the me in whom you abide is also looking back at you. In thy light shall we see light. Yes, the Father, the Father, the the Father. As this steadies, another sense awakens. Around persons and even around places, you become aware of an atmosphere. Some call it aura. I prefer atmosphere because it is not a ring of colors for display, but a presence quality. Quiet, agitated, spacious, pinched. And again, you are not diagnosing. You are registering, as naturally as breath registers cool morning air. In that atmosphere, prayer becomes simple, because there is less of you to push and more of presence to recognize. You do not send thoughts. You acknowledge what is here. And sometimes, rarely sought, often given when no one is watching, the form yields to light. Their entire body will seem to recede, and what remains is not vacancy, but luminosity. A soft radiance where features once clamored for attention. It may last a heartbeat. It may hold long enough to bathe you in hush. Do not clutch at it. Do not tell yourself you have become a seer. This is not spectacle. This is evidence that consciousness is moving from corporeal sense to spiritual sense. Transfiguration is not a party trick. It is a mercy. A foretaste given to keep us honest about what is real. Now keep the order straight. The release is the gateway. The seeing is the road sign. We do not go hunting for lights. We rest in the Father within until the strain drops, and then, as needed, sight clarifies. If nothing appears, you have lost nothing. The government is still not on your shoulder. If something appears, a softening of form, a brightness in the eyes, an atmosphere that consoles, take it as confirmation only, bow inwardly, and return to living from the hush. So it is that, when abiding is real, consciousness lifts, and your world, which is not changed in its furniture, begins to reveal itself as spirit rather than as mere form. Now when sight softens like this, conduct follows. Not by orders barked at yourself, but by gravity from above. Elevation draws. It draws you up and, in drawing up, lets the lower slip its hold without a fight. You will find that certain coarsenesses, sharp words, noisy amusements, the appetite for outrage, the itch to win the quarrel, begin to look a little, well, small. Not wicked, small. The taste goes out of them. The old cravings, compulsions of the body, little tyrannies of the tongue, hungers that once strutted like kings, lose their costumes. And here is the mercy. You are not throwing them out of the house. They are finding the door themselves because another guest has taken the central chair. The Father. The Father. The Father. Notice how it happens. There is no vow taken in a fever, no whip kept behind the door. After a spell of abiding, 5 minutes in the hush, perhaps less, you discover that what yesterday called your name today seems muffled, as if behind a wall. The drink that promised warmth tastes flat. The cigarette reaches for your fingers, and you do not reach back. The gossip circle warms to its story, and you feel a shy reluctance, as if you would break something tender if you joined. You did not decide to be noble. Life within has come to sufficiency, and competing fires look pale in that light. Keep the order straight. Do not try to manufacture these refinements ahead of realization. If you do, you will get strain. Tight lips, proud eyes, and a house swept, but not at peace. Hypocrisy is born exactly there, when we pose as advanced while fear still runs the machinery. First, the release. First, the government changing shoulders. Then, as sap flows, fruit appears. The branch does not beat itself to make the apple drop. The sun does its quiet work. So it is with habits. So it is with tempers. So it is with that animal level we have all known. Eating, talking, desiring as if there were no inner governor. Elevation reforms. Self-attack deforms. How shall you test whether transformation is genuine? By gentleness and freedom. If you find yourself rigid, morally scowling, policing others, measuring your day by what you did not do, you have crept back under mental effort. Return at once to the one sure thing. Sit. Take the single phrase. Wait. Listen until the inward ah comes, and stop. You will see that what needed dropping loosens itself, and what needed beginning begins without trumpet and without grind. Freedom is the fragrance of the real. Compulsion is the odor of the old workshop. Let me say it simply so you can carry it home. Abiding reforms life by elevation, not by self-attack. What is lower drops away when what is higher is loved, not because you hate the lower, but because you have met your life, and it is enough. And when, tomorrow or tonight, an old appetite surges, do not war with it. Step into the vine. I can of mine own self do nothing, the Father within me. Wait for the lightness, then walk on. The Father, the Father, the Father. Now, when the inward refinement begins, and the old coarsenesses lose their glamour, we must see what is really happening, or we will miss the law that governs all conduct from here on. Inasmuch as ye have done it unto the least of these, ye have done it unto me. Who is this me? Where is this me? Not a far-off figure asking favors, the same I that has said, "Abide in me, and I in you." The me is the indwelling Christ, the Father within, present as your life, present as my life, present as the life of the one standing unnoticed at the edge of your day. The Father, the Father, the Father. Once you have even a little taste of I in you, Matthew 25 stops being poetry and becomes mechanics. Here is the mechanic of it. If there is one self, then every thought, word, or deed toward you is inescapably a thought, word, or deed toward myself. Contempt thrown at you lands first in me. Praise given you clears first my own atmosphere. When I wrong you, whom do I wrong? Myself. When I lift you, whom do I lift? Myself. This is not sentiment. This is law. Like gravity, impartial and immediate. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you is not sweet counsel to improve manners. It is a statement of identity. There is only one I. Therefore, every trespass is self-trespass. Every mercy is self-mercy. You see? The Father, the Father, the Father. Now translate that into the street and the kitchen and the office. Speak as if you were speaking to your own heart, because in spiritual fact, you are. Write emails you could receive without a wince. Price your labor and another's so that both sides can breathe. In the grocery line, treat the cashier as the breath in your own lungs, steady, precious, not to be hurried with scorn. When the gossip circle heats, remember you are pouring acid into your own well. When anger rises with a child, correct as you would correct your own soul. Firm, yes. Shaming, never. In traffic, in contract, in courtroom, in kitchen, conduct yourself as if the I within you were looking out of those other eyes. Because it is. We must also clear a subtle misuse at this point. Abiding is not withdrawal from the world, not pious indifference while suffering wanders the streets. It is not passivity, it is right agency. In abiding, you do not dominate, you consent to the presence to act as you. You retire within until that release announces the government has shifted. Then you move as given, sometimes to speak, sometimes to be silent, sometimes to give bread, sometimes to give boundary, always to honor the one self. We are not sending thoughts to fix people. We are recognizing the I of them, and from that recognition, action appears without strain and without that superior heat that bruises while pretending to bless. Make this non-negotiable, because it already is. When Christ is realized as the shared self, love ceases to be a mood and becomes law. You will find that you cannot afford a cheap thought about another because the bill arrives at your own door. You will find that forgiveness is not an option, but a necessity, because it is your atmosphere you are clearing. And you will discover that service is not charity from the high to the low. It is the self meeting itself and finding joy. Inasmuch ye have done it unto me. I am he, I am that. Now live so, and the Father within will see to the rest. The Father, the Father, the Father. Now comes the test that makes this more than a sweet evening. Tomorrow morning the mind will come in, as minds do, with its briefcase of urgencies. Any problem, any matter, any discord, any inharmony, any injustice. It will present the body, the bill, the child, the contract, the news, and it will whisper the old invitation. Take the wheel, manage it, outline it, push. Expect that. Do not scold it. Do not be afraid of it. Just recognize it as weather, not government. Weather passes. Government abides. So we set a simple rhythm, the same every day, because simplicity is mercy. Before the phone, before the paper, before you report to yesterday's fears, take your seat. 2 minutes if that is what you have, 5 if you can, more if it is given. Take one living phrase. Do not build a bouquet. One. Abide in me, and I in you. Or, if your heart goes there, I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me, he doeth the works. Read it inwardly. Ponder it. Ask, who is this me? Where is this I? Who doeth? And be still enough to hear your own breathing. Do not grind the words. Let them open. Continue until that small, unmistakable easing comes, the knot loosening you cannot force, the lightness that says, without trumpet, the government is not on my shoulder. The Father, the Father, the Father. Then stop, rise, and go about your business. During the day, the mind will return with its stack. Good, that is your bell. You do not battle it, you retire within for a minute, for 3 breaths if that is all you can take. And you touch the phrase again, not as charm, but as door. You wait for the same sign. Release. If it comes, even a whisper of it, you proceed from that inner government. If it does not come, you do not pretend. You keep listening, you move gently. You return at noon, at 4, at night. This is not perfection. This is honesty. Now, your safeguard. Do not measure first by outer result. Do not ask, did the call go my way? Did they change? Did the pain stop? Ask rather, has the burden shifted? Is there inner quiet? Am I moving from presence or from push? If you find yourself keyed tight, breath short, jaw set, rehearsing and re-rehearsing, you have taken the wheel again. No blame, just step back. Sit. Phrase. Release. Rest. Action will be given without that bargaining heat. So it is. You do not have to become a mystic overnight. You do not have to see light around heads by Friday. You have to be honest. No release means you continue. Release means you rest. Keep the test simple. Keep the rhythm gentle. The ongoing proof of abiding is not that storms never form, but that in the very midst of them there appears, again and again, the quiet transfer of government to the Father within, who doeth the works. The Father. The Father. The Father. Abide there, and let Him carry the day.